Today on Locked On Rockies, are the Rockies sticking with their young catcher duo as they have yet to make a deal with Jacob Stallings or any free agent catcher? Plus, a couple of interesting comments on a recent Purple Row post. Well, I should say from the Purple Row piece about possible sponsor patches. And I think that relates to our conversation about season ticket holders pretty well.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 15th day of November in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, free and streaming on all your favorite streaming services as well. Head on over to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel and be part of the show. Fire off your Rockies hot takes. Let me know what's on your mind. We're going to go through some listener comments to close out the show today, so stay tuned for that. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk about the Rockies possibly sticking with just Drew Romo and Hunter Goodman behind the dish. And over on Purple Row, there's an interesting new piece that just came out today by Joel Milholm talking about possibly adding sponsor patches to the Rockies uniforms and why you'd be surprised what type of game changer that could be financially for the Colorado Rockies. And I'll give my thoughts on that as well. Before we dive into everything today, a reminder, my name is Paul Holden. I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire. I've been bringing you this daily Rockies podcast for over 3 seasons now and been following, loving, rooting for the Rockies my entire life. You can find us on, I'm telling you, you head over to the YouTube channel, you like the videos, you subscribe, you are really helping us out. I can't emphasize it enough, folks, how much of a help it is for you to go over to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, engage over there, like the videos, go and do all that cool stuff. Subscribing, absolutely. Huge help. So if you like the show, if you like the content, head on over there. Best way to help the show grow, best way to support the show is that and leaving 5-star reviews on your favorite streaming services. All right, so as we were talking yesterday, I'm also going to go back to another Purple Row piece that we were talking about yesterday as well. Mac Wilcox writing free agent deals for the Rockies to consider, and we only really zoomed in, and I'm not going to focus on the outfielders here, but we did talk about Mike Soroka yesterday. That was the one. But here's who Mac follows up with here. Gary Sanchez, and this is what Mac has to say. Here's a look into my brain. Long ball make Breen go burr. I like home runs. Gary Sanchez hits them. What else do you need? Mac elaborates. Okay, fine. I'll be more specific. With Jacob Stallings gone, the Rockies seem prepared to enter 2025 with Drew Romo as their primary catcher and Hunter Goodman as the backup. That's a completely fine tandem for where Colorado was at competitively, but neither provided much by way of offense. While there's no question whatsoever that Romo should start as many games as possible next year, Sanchez represents a solid upgrade before, behind, and at the plate. Romo is 23 and essentially still a rookie, while Goodman is 25 and entering his 3rd season. Sanchez will be enjoying his 10th season, immediately takes on a role of veteran leadership for the 2 young backstops, and will become a great resource to learn from. Sanchez's bat would also be an option for a DH role, assuming Chris Bryant's ineffectuality continues into 2025. While he's unlikely to smack 30-something homers as he did in the days of yore, his presence may help lengthen the lineup behind the legs of Jones, Ezekiel Tovar, and Bretton Doyle. I'm all for it. I'm all for kind of everything that's happening with the Rockies catcher situation because, again, we know how difficult it is to be a catcher. We know how difficult it is to develop catching. We know how difficult it is for offensive people for offense to come from catchers. But I'm okay with how much hype, how much belief, how much thought you've had about Drew Romo. I'm fine with making him the primary catcher. I'm fine with just like we've talked about with the outfield with some of these guys. I'm okay if Drew Romo is spending most of the time behind the dish and taking a season where it's at bats, it's experience, it's more balls in the dirt, it's professional level baseball. With Hunter Goodman's ability to kind of bounce around a little bit, even though we know Hunter Goodman prefers to catch, we know Hunter Goodman likes to catch. I wouldn't be opposed to adding a power of this type of move. Would be, if you're not going to bring back Jacob Stallings, who, if you brought back Jacob Stallings, it would have been a solid thing. He wasn't going to start every day. We already knew that. And Jacob Stallings had a solid enough offensive year. But again, if you can add power to this team that desperately needs more power, if you can add a power bat like Sanchez, that is interesting. Keeping in mind, again, he can DH a little bit and he's playing at Coors. I mean, he's back in a hitter-friendly environment, not going to have the same short porch in right field as you do at Yankee Stadium. But I think that when that's the type of offense that the Rockies should be looking to inject into this lineup. If you're taking in players, if you're inserting free agent veterans into this roster, especially focused on their batting abilities, their offense abilities, they need to be players that can contribute on offense. And again, this is we're talking about a possible backup catcher and DH thing, because when you're looking at the season last year for Gary Sanchez, it's not like he was blowing the ball out of the yard all the time. It's not like he was dominant, and he was on the Brewers last year as well. I must have I must have missed that. But only 11 home runs, 220 batting average, 37 RBI, and 245 at bats. You know, it's not necessarily that he's gonna he might not be the same player he once was, but this is a 15 career WAR player with 184 home runs, 485 RBI, OBP of 309, 463 career slugging, an OPS of 772. I mean, how many times have we seen an aging veteran come to Colorado and have a solid year, a solid bounce back year? Especially when if you're going to do this move, you're kind of putting the writing on the wall for Hunter Goodman, right? Like, you're at least making it much more difficult for Hunter Goodman to get on the field, and much more difficult for Goodman to be able to kind of prove himself, make it so that he is the big name, or establishing himself as a figure in the big leagues. But at the same time, you get a little name value here. That's a name that certainly will raise some people's eyebrows. It's a guy that can generate runs. Is it that crazy to believe that Sanchez could be the next Michael Kadire, be the next Justin Morneau? You know, I mean, those guys won Silver Sluggers when they came to Colorado. Those guys had incredible bounce back years. So I'm not opposed to it. I think that's a fine option to go if that's how you look to add the offense, add to the offense. I don't think it'd be a big deal. I don't think it would be big money. And Sanchez is probably looking for that rebound. 0.2 WAR last year, overall in that 245 at bats, 307 OBP. Right along his career on base percentage, slugging 392, OPS is 699. So, this is a guy that certainly wants to, probably is looking to bounce back here, especially kind of he was on the Padres for a little bit. When did I miss this trade? Totally missed this trade or signing in the offseason. He's not been with the Yankees since 2022, and I'm out here introducing him. And sometimes, just a peek behind the curtain, there are a lot of baseball players. There are a lot of baseball players, and it's hard to track them. There are other people on the network. There are other people in that cover sports. They freaking know. They're just locked in. You see those Just Baseball guys, or the guys that just really, really focus in on prospects and things like that. The Locked On Guardians dudes, for example. I mean, they just know these players. I mean, and not only do they know these players, they know where they're at, where they've played, and their profiles. So I apologize that I was still setting Sanchez up as a Yankee there. But Sanchez is a Silver Slugger winner in the past, 2-time All-Star. Some interesting stuff there. I think, though, like me personally, I think Hunter Goodman, if he was given that. He was given a lot of opportunities, 211 at bats last year. I would just like it to come consistently, playing in games back to back to back. And it is something he did, at points this season. He had opportunities to do so, but it also cooled off when you're looking at it. Like, for example, he played most of May and June, and then in July it starts to taper off a little bit, going from 55 at bats and 40 at bats in June and May down to 31 at bats in July, 22 at bats in August, and then back up to 53 in September. So again, still getting at bats, still up with the Rockies the entire season last year, but still would go through kind of some longer stretches without being involved in the game. For not being involved in 4 days between September 22nd and 26th is an example. And like I said, good chunk of August not playing at all. And then I think there was some injury, wasn't there? When did he get hurt? I think he did get a little hurt this year too. But July 2nd, then playing on the 5th, and then playing for a couple of days, then a couple of days off. It's not going to, and he's not going to get it this year either. There's not going to be a path for him to have that. But I do wonder if he knows that instead of bouncing all around the infield or bouncing, playing right field or whatever, if he knows that he's going to catch and he's going to confidently be able to say that I'm going to be catching more, I wonder what that will do for him. I wonder if that'll put him in a better spot. I wonder if that will put him in the groove that he wants to be. Because again, there was consistent playing time last year. There was at minimum 30 at bats in every month that Hunter Goodman played, and he still batted under 200. He still didn't knock your socks off when it came to statistical performance from Hunter Goodman last year. I'm not out on if he's the backup catcher, that's okay. But it's like but it's also going to be putting pressure on him that in these moments that you're in the game, it is time for him to start to succeed. It is year 3 that we're going on. This is we cannot continue to just keep investing in some of these guys that aren't taking the steps forward that we need. This is a season in which Hunter Goodman needs to perform. So I don't know how long they'll stick with just these young Rockies guys, and if the Rockies try to add a catcher. But we'll see how the offseason goes. We'll see if the Rockies are interested in Sanchez and what the Rockies do at catcher. But sure seems like for now they are going with the young catcher duo of Romo and Goodman there. All right, so thank you, Mac, for that. There's plenty more free agents we didn't talk about in that piece. You can go check that out on part of the Rock Pile on Purple Row, free agent deals for the Rockies to consider. Going to read another piece from Purple Row coming up in the next segment, because I think this relates to our conversation yesterday about season tickets and kind of some of the money situations for the Colorado Rockies pretty well. We will do that in segment number 2. Before we do that, we got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes SelectQuote, the World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. You invest so much time to take care of yourself and to be the healthiest, best version of you. SelectQuote's exclusive policies can reward that efforts. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/lockedon. Go to SelectQuote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/lockedon. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you daily Colorado Rockies talk on your favorite streaming services and the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. We're going to read some listener comments at the end of the show today. wanted to hear from some of you season tickets holders out there. Still want to hear from season ticket holders and Rockies fans all off season long, anytime really, by heading over to the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section, firing off your hot takes, your questions. I want to talk about the topics you want to hear about this off season. So whatever's on your mind as Rockies fans, let me know. So, hey, for your second listen, by the way, go check out Locked On MLB. Our guy Sully's got a great podcast about the world of baseball. Go check it out. I wanted to go back to Purple Row, and I wanted to read from Joel Milholm here, this piece. Man, here's a heartbreaker from it already. Talking about sources and talking about a little bit of money here. Rockies fans are used to winners filled with inaction, with the team coming off of 6 straight losing seasons, including back-to-back 100-loss seasons, and sources confirmed a payroll cut. Seems like as good a time as any to explore additional sources of revenue that could help make the team competitive again and fill the void left by smaller TV income. Colorado's payroll for 103 losses in 2024 was $171 million, number 14 in MLB. And cutting it to $147.3 million in 2024 resulted in 101 losses. With the $57 million in guaranteed TV money from 2023 likely slashed in half or more, with diminished viewership and guarantee less Rockies TV, who knows what the 2025 figure will be? Could fewer dollars result in more wins? Talks about the A's and how it works possibly for the Rays and the A's over time, but that doesn't work in Colorado. For example, the Rockies have the worst roster by WAR. Isn't that a heartbreaker? Isn't that crazy to hear? By WAR, the Rockies roster was the worst in baseball. That is less WAR. That is less wins above replacement. And you might not like advanced stats. You might just like that. That's fine. But WAR is a very, very important measurement for a lot of people breaking down baseball. And the Rockies were not only last, but they were last by almost 4 points behind the White Sox, the historically bad White Sox. That's crazy. The A's were 33.3 and the Rays 39.9. So just to compare it to those teams. But basically, that's a total sidestep thing. That's a total gut punch. No wonder why money's probably going to be down. I wanted to read a little bit from this though, which is going to be the main interesting point. The Athletic's John Greenberg wrote an article in August detailing the current status of sponsorship patches, explaining that the league average for the patches is around $7 million to $8 million a year. At the same time, they can be much higher as the Yankees and Blue Jays have deals in the low to mid $20 million range annually. Let's see. But so let's put that. So there's some more reading to do in between this, but if the Rockies could land a sponsor, even for the lowest price on the market, that could pay for Brendan Rodgers' $6.77 million contract in 2025 if the Rockies don't trade him. A higher end like San Diego's $10 million Motorola deal could cover German Marquez's 2025 salary. That's huge. That is a game changer, man. That if you can count on getting the money you need to pay for a star player's contract, whether it be one season, whether it be a nice deal that you got going forward, that will be worth it. And I can almost guarantee you that the Rockies will try everything they can to have a sponsorship patch on their uniform. And for the purists out there, and I understand, I totally get it. But to me, as a younger sports fan, as someone that has grown up in a world where I have been hit with commercials since the moment I've been born, and I will be hit with commercials and advertising until the moment I am in the dirt, and all in between. My day-to-day life is also very dependent on advertising and stuff. So while I completely understand being turned off by ads on helmets, on uniforms, and of course during the games and on your favorite content, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't happen without ads. Sports aren't as big as they are without advertising. Media in general doesn't happen without advertising. This show doesn't happen without advertising. I mean, it's just, for me, it's so much a part of everything that I like and that I do, that it's not a big deal for me. But I do believe that it should be the right type of partnership. And Joelle even mentions in the piece that she has some ideas that she's gonna have for her next piece. But the Rockies are, it's tough. It is really, really tough. But I do think there's a way to do it that isn't super distasteful. There's a way for it not to be so egregious. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think. I mean, I didn't know what the company was, but I wasn't turned off by the helmet stickers. I wasn't turned off. I'm not turned off by the patches that I saw. I just, I don't think it is as big of a deal breaker as it is for me. It's not something that that's a big turnoff for me. You know, I think that if you, especially when you think about think about a patch could cover Brendan Rodgers' salary. I mean, that does change things. And the Rockies are probably going to be facing a situation where they don't have a choice. They're going to have to make one of these deals done. Because again, I do think though those viewership numbers are going to be brutal. I don't think that I don't think that it's going to be good. I'm actually like, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be kind of a bloodbath when it comes to that. When it comes to revenue, I just think that it is because again, if people aren't going to be keeping their season tickets, when we don't have people that are confident in keeping their season tickets, then how are we supposed to be confident that the Rockies are solid? Declining attendance numbers. I'm assuming declines in season ticket new season ticket holders. So this is going to be something you're probably going to have to embrace. I would prepare for this. I really would, because this is going to be a situation in which, again, I really don't think the Rockies are going to have a choice. But like, would you mind seeing like a King Supers? I feel like most promo Rockies stuff that I had growing up had a King Supers logo on it. But again, I know I'm going a little long on this. I just think that it's a situation in which that you might want to prepare yourself for. If it's something that turns you off from the uniforms, you might want to get your uniform sooner rather than later. Your jersey, if you're worried about sponsorship badges. Because the sponsorship badge goes on the jerseys they sell, right? I think. Anyway, all right. Let's wrap up the show with some listener comments, and we'll do that after a quick break. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Locked On Rockies here, wrapping things up for today, wrapping things up for this week of November. And we got some listener comments here. Jack says, I'm no season ticket holder, but I try and go to 10 to 15 games a year. I went to 12 games last season and came home genuinely surprised. They were 10-2 at the ballpark when I was there. Rockies, you know what to do. Either way, it's hard to get friends to go because they don't want to watch bad baseball and be surrounded by other fans. We went to a Cubs game and my friend said she had fun but hated how the crowd was against us. The alarm should be sounding. That's a great point. That's and a really interesting one too. And again, another good point. Does that I wonder how turned I wonder, did anyone else have that similar problem trying to get people to go but turned off by the amount of opposing fans in the ballpark? Cubs especially. I mean, that one, even before you were, the Cubs fans travel well, that's for sure, and they certainly will travel well to Colorado in the middle of the summer. Hey, that's the one thing too, it's hard to fault people for wanting to go check out a game at Coors, because it's like, why wouldn't you want to go visit Colorado? Why wouldn't you want to make a trip out of going to watch your team play at Coors and make a trip out of Colorado, make a trip out of it when you can go check out how cool Colorado is? Rob here. Rob's a little more critical. If you are a season ticket holder, you have a crazy addiction that is equivalent to going to your toilet and stuffing it full of money, then flushing it and watching the money swirl around the bowl and see it disappear. Except if going to the sewer, it goes straight to the Momfort's bank account. I understand. I totally get it. It does go back to the Momforts. You are right. I'm so grateful that my parents did season tickets growing up. We were part of a group, the same group I actually talked about yesterday. And that having the privilege to go to as many games as I did, even when the Rockies were bad, was awesome. It deepened my love of the game. It established my love of the Colorado Rockies. It's something like me and my dad went to so many baseball games together. I will never forget that. It was just me and him heading down to the ballpark, tons of time, Thursday games, Tuesday night games. He would, finish up work. I finished up the sports, then we just go and enjoy ourselves. I mean, as frustrating as it is to be a fan of the Rockies, it is also just fun to go and just kick your feet up and watch some baseball in some beautiful weather. Again, I get it, but it is also there is an entertainment part of it, and like Coors again is an elite baseball viewing experience, no matter what the product is on the field. Here's what Lux Ace has to say. All right, to answer your question, my grandfather is a season ticket holder since the Rockies played their first game at Mile High Stadium, so he takes me to a lot of games per year. I think he just enjoys the sport of baseball and likes to see the Rockies win, but if they don't, it doesn't really ruin his day. Me, on the other hand, I do like watching players like Doyle, Zeke, Nolan, and Charlie when he was playing, and it's 10 times better to see the Rockies in person than watching it on TV. But I am so sick and tired of the Rockies losing. I want to see a team that can win ball games, but they can't do that. I was at the game where we blew 5 runs to the Miami Marlins at Coors Field, and it just sucks to watch game after game the Rockies lose. Luckily, I don't got to be paying Dick Bomfort money. Otherwise, I would go less and less. But the reason my grandfather keeps his season tickets is because we're both big baseball fans, and we will always support the Rockies. By the way, Coors Field is very nice, but there's a lot of rude staff. I don't know. I've always had great interaction there. And I'm not going to lie, I was watching a lot more Yankees games this season than Rockies, and I was able to go to Yankee Stadium and the Giants Stadium this season. And even though both teams lost, it was a lot more fun than watching the 2024 Colorado Rockies. Those are two stadiums I definitely want to go to. See, but I understand. Again, it makes sense being frustrated, but you will never forget about all those baseball games you got to go with your grandfather. And I would do exactly what your grandfather is doing. Because again, if you have kids that you want to do something, that you want to share something with, and explain to them, you can tell them about the flaws of the Rockies and teach them and such. But it's a great way to spend a summer night, man. I will never be against that. So, and then we had a couple of comments on some other videos there. Shout out to my guy Jordan Ambron here, talking about Sean Bouchard here. Bouchard is a great flip candidate to a team that suffers an injury. Low risk, high upside. Roster him and flip him when Veen or Beck is ready for the everyday role. No KB on the field. 4 ABs a game and pray he doesn't break. Yep, I'm with you there. All right, yeah, folks, keep firing off your Rockies hot takes. Keep letting me know what's on the mind if you are on your mind if you're a season ticket holder. Keep letting me know what's on your mind as a Colorado Rockies fan. But that is going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Have a wonderful weekend. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Our guy Sully's got you covered there. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs, all available as well, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.